Superman is back in this latest clip from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, where we see Kara Zor-El, Superman's cousin, landing on Earth in a capsule with little puppy Krypto. This is Kara's first time arriving on Earth, and it confirms that this Supergirl film will take place both before and after the Superman movie.
Hi there. Oh, I don't, I don't speak Kryptonian. I wasn't raised there, so I wasn't raised there. Why am I talking louder? Let me help you.
Escrito, es fuera, Nini. Es fuera.
Should mention, your powers are gonna start kicking in right about...
Hey everybody, Colton here. So this clip begins with Kara and Krypto landing at Clark's Fortress of Solitude following the destruction of the remaining piece of Krypton that Kara and other surviving Kryptonians lived on. This place was known as Argo City. Now, we all know the story of Superman, right? It's so well known that they didn't even bother putting it in the new movie. The planet Superman comes from, Krypton, it blew up, and before that happened, Superman, or Kal-El, he was sent by his parents to Earth, not just to save his life, but for him to rule over the people of Earth and rebuild Krypton. That's a new little bit of the lore that was added for this DCU version of the character. And what's cool about Supergirl is that while the Superman movie, the first movie of this new DCU, didn't need to retread the Superman origin story, it'll still be cool for us to get to see that origin story through the eyes of Kara Zor-El, a character who is not nearly as popular as Superman, so we can have that origin story in her film that also fills those gaps on screen that we kind of already know the story of, but we'll get to see those origins in the DCU on screen, and it won't feel like it's an unnecessary thing in a Superman movie. It'll feel like a very necessary thing for a Supergirl movie. So anyway, while Clark, he was sent to Earth as a baby, Kara remained on Krypton and was actually part of a surviving group who lived on a shard of Krypton drifting through space with this dome over it. But eventually that piece of Krypton, Argo City, and its people, they all died as well, and Kara and Krypto are seemingly the only survivors, and now she has made her way to Earth to reconnect with her younger cousin and the only other living Kryptonian that she knows of. And yes, by the way, Superman is her younger cousin. I'll explain that here in a second. So Kara, she has watched her entire planet and everyone she ever knew or loved die, and that's why she is so miserable and goes to planets without yellow suns so that her powers aren't active and she can get drunk to numb the pain. Now, in the original comics, going back to like the 1960s, Superman and Kara's first interaction went like this. Argo City, that piece of Krypton that Kara was surviving on with other Kryptonians, it suffers a deadly kryptonite contamination and meteor storm that ultimately dooms the city. Realizing that this was the end, Kara's parents, remember Kara's father and Superman's father are brothers, her parents, they build a rocket or a shuttle and they send her to Earth where her cousin Kal-El has already become Superman. So Superman, he hears a rocket crash and he investigates, and when he arrives, he discovers a blonde teenage girl wearing a costume very similar to his own. She introduces herself as Kara Zor-El and explains that she is his cousin from Krypton. Now, the more recent version of the story from, I want to say like 2004 or 2005, we learn that Kara, as a teenager, was actually sent from Krypton around the same time as baby Kal-El, and her mission was going to be, as the older cousin, to protect this baby on Earth. But something goes wrong with her ship and she veers off course, and due to like time dilation and her being in cryosleep, she remains physically the same age while baby Clark grows up into Superman. Now, this version of the story that we're getting in the DCU with Woman of Tomorrow, it appears to be borrowing from both versions, but more so the original, I would say. And of course, there's also the most recent comic of the same name, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, that it is primarily pulling from. Now, the DCU version of Kara is very similar to what we've seen in the comics, especially in the Woman of Tomorrow comic. She witnessed the fall of Krypton, lived on Argo City, watched it fall as well, and somehow her and Krypto, they get placed into a shuttle and they are sent to Earth, landing near Superman's Fortress of Solitude because it is born of a Kryptonian crystal and it can be traced by Kryptonian technology. So whether it be due to time dilation or cryosleep, Kara, who is technically older than Clark, is now the same age or actually a little younger, and the two have a very interesting dynamic because she has seen truly horrific things and knows the history of where they come from, and she carries all of that pain. So So in that way, she feels like the older sibling, whereas Superman is too young to remember any of it and isn't burdened by that same pain, at least not to the same extent. But in other ways, Superman appears older, like physically older, and he has this older brother vibe toward Kara because, well, she knows all about Krypton. Superman has more experience and authority, I guess you could say, on Earth and knowing about being a superhero and how to fit in on this planet. So while Kara could definitely act as an older sibling and teach Superman a thing or two, not just about where they come from, but like not being so naive, Superman is going to try to teach her how to be a superhero. And you know what's interesting here, as cool as their dynamic is going to be, this scene is taking place before Superman 2025, meaning that this scene is taking place, of course, before Superman learns the truth about his parents' intentions for him on Earth.
Lord over the planet, as the last son of Krypton.
Dispatch of anyone unable or unwilling to serve you, Khaled. Take as many wives as you can, so your genes and Krypton's might and legacy will live on in this new frontier.
Do us proud, our beloved son.
So I think the timeline goes like this, and these gaps will likely be filled in the Supergirl movie. Kara witnesses the fall of Krypton. She witnesses the fall of Argo City. She then goes to Earth with Krypto looking for Kal-El, learns about Earth, learns English, learns about her powers that come to all Kryptonians who bathe in Earth's yellow sun. She likely then meets Clark's Earth parents because I would assume Ma Kent makes Supergirl this suit. He'll then try to train her up to be a superhero and learn how to use her powers, and she'll do some superheroing right alongside her cousin, just like we saw here in Peacemaker. But we also know at the end of the day that her and Superman are very different. And while I think we will see Kara try to fit in on Earth, try to fit in with Superman, I think we're going to learn that she's just not able to, and that is when she will regress and start drinking and become the character that we kind of see there at the end of the first Superman movie and going into this Supergirl movie. Kara, she is far more rough around the edges because she hasn't had the same sheltered life as Clark. In fact, she's had quite the opposite. And because of that trauma, she has resorted to drinking and she goes on these off-world benders. Now, we have yet to see her and Clark have a discussion about this new revelation regarding his parents' true mission for Clark on Earth, and I would assume that Clark would have some questions for her like,
Did you know?
So the bulk of the Supergirl movie will take place after Superman, following her picking up Krypto and going back into space, and likely looking to go on another bender for her birthday. But maybe we'll get to see a scene with her and Superman where they have that conversation about his parents. In fact, I think throughout the Supergirl movie, we will likely get flashbacks to Krypton, as we've seen in the trailer, and some flashbacks to her interactions with Superman after arriving on Earth. I think they're going to jump between the present and the past, telling us Kara's origin story throughout the film instead of just tacking it on to the very beginning. So yeah, I'm stoked for Supergirl, and then of course we have the Man of Tomorrow movie that's being made right now. We just got some cool behind the scenes looks at Lex in his big green Buzz Lightyear costume, so that'll be fun to see. And yeah, I'm just feeling really good about the DCU, man. It's turning out really well, and I'm excited for the future. All right, let me know what you guys thought about this clip and this new trailer. Are you excited for Supergirl? I will say that, well, I've thought the trailers look good. I did kind of think that they looked a little ugly in terms of like how it was shot, and the color correction looks very digital, very flat. But these later trailers look like they're really beginning to dial that in, boost some contrast and stuff. So I'm really excited for the movie, and I hope it turns out well. All right, if you guys are new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I've been Colton Ogburn, and I will see you next time. Bye!